What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the final Lethal Company update video. Today we're going to be covering Zeeker's 5th Patreon post. He starts his post off with a soundtrack, which I'm going to have playing in the background, and he titles this Numerous Changes. This was posted on February 4th, which was about 3 weeks ago, and he says, "Hello, I'm sorry this post is a whole week late compared to the normal schedule. The reason is literally just because I've been so busy that hardly anything can pry me away. The past couple weeks have been spent on things other than creatures, so I'm excited to get back on that again soon." One of the first things I did after the last post was make this new ambient track. It uses a new instrument for the piano, but I tried to make the filters sound as similar as possible. Now I can play notes much higher without them sounding distorted. One of the main points of this track was to try to get back to making simple tracks that just fit the feeling of serene nature and outdoors, with more repetition to make them easier to enjoy. I know that no one else is really able to listen to ambient music 6 or 5 because it's so busy and always changing before you can get your footing. 5 and 6 were kind of trying to tell stories rather than just vibe. Fun fact, ambient music 7 has a particular 6 notes, 2 groups of 3, which were plucked straight out of ambient music 3, but I think no one will be able to figure that out. Yeah, I've always liked the music in Lethal Company. It kind of reminds me of Minecraft music in the way that you don't really know it's there. It just kind of like fills your ears in the background. And then when you finally notice it, it's just, I don't know, really peaceful, and I could actually listen to it and enjoy it as a track in itself. I don't think nostalgic is the right word to describe this music, but it's almost like a modern nostalgia, if that makes sense. The most exciting things I've done in the past 2 weeks are things that I would really love to keep a secret so that V80 packs more of a punch. A lot of them are just polish, and they have a much better surprise when you notice them organically. I've been bug fixing, mostly bugs introduced in V80, and constantly getting sidetracked on the way with little things that I've always wanted but never got around to. So this is good. Zeekers isn't telling us everything that's going to be in V80 on his Patreon. Obviously, that's not what we want. We just kind of want, you know, small updates to kind of get us excited for V80. And I'm glad he says that he's polishing the game. I think that's exactly what this game needs. I think when V80 comes out, I want to be able to hop on and feel like, you know, there's been a lot of work into it, and I don't know, I just want to be able to hop on and things feel polished. I can't really think of any other word, but yeah, I think it's great that that's exactly what he's focusing on. Zeekers then shows us a gif of this tongue item. He doesn't say anything about this item, but he does say, "Yesterday I messed with player-to-player body collision and made it so that when running or crouching or holding big objects, your collision is less soft. The purpose is that in rare circumstances, players will actually knock into each other and get in each other's way. It feels a lot better to feel some resistance than to phase through your coworker as if they were a ghost." I think this is a good touch. I think this is just kind of a small, like, polish feature, which, you know, I don't think is something a lot of us have thought about, but a good change nonetheless. He shows us this photo and says, "I added these cracks which are visible when getting to critical health. The reason I did this was because I needed to clean up the normal helmet cracks and initially tried just changing them. However, the original cracks are just too good, and I think it must have to do with how they add to the overall composition of the screen in some subliminal way. So now we have these new injury cracks along with a cleaner, subtler version of the normal cracks." He's making all these very small changes, and I think that's exactly what this game needs. You know, you make all these small changes over a long period of time, and suddenly your game is a lot more polished. So we can clearly see in this post that Zeekers is giving attention to a lot of the small things within this game. Then he shows us a photo of the new Mineshaft flow, and he says, "The Mineshaft's flow has been reworked so there are extra smaller pockets of caves in different locations. This makes the map feel less linear and decreases the frustration of looking for the caves and not being able to find them. The Mineshaft has also been extra chaotic because of the fact that there is just one transition between caves and tunnels, which means that all creatures and players need to flow through that one choke point to get to either side of the map. Overall, it's a small change, but it definitely helps." Yeah, I think this is great. I mean, sometimes you'll have an enemy right at that choke point, and they're either preventing you from going inside or outside, and it can really be a pain to play on Mineshaft sometimes, so great change. I've been turning all the dials to see if there's any more performance benefits I can get. Now there's a basic occlusion culling in the interiors, which should help, for example, on Titan. Non-moving lights indoors now have their shadows cached, so that the game doesn't calculate shadows for the environment every frame, just for players and creatures and scrap. Yesterday, I also revamped some base creature code to make the creatures less dumb, mainly in large maps, or if there are ludicrous amounts of them moving around. Now that I have a beefy computer, it's a bit hard to test if any of this has had a noticeable impact though, so I don't know yet. So here we have some small performance changes. He's basically just optimizing the interior so your computer isn't trying to load everything, you know, inside a dungeon. It's only loading the things that it needs to load. So yeah, the game should run better as soon as this comes out. He did say he revamped some of the creature AI, so I mean, he says it's to make them less dumb. I assume maybe the search routine is different. Maybe, you know, when creatures get stuck on each other, I feel like that kind of happens often. they won't just be, you know, stuck to each other. I'm sure once this update comes out, the nerds are going to be on top of the AI changes, so there will definitely be a video on how AI has changed once this update drops. Today, I also finally fixed spiders so they bob up and down when moving as they were supposed to. That means they might not randomly twerk anymore, but it's worth it. A little bit of a bummer, but we'll take it. I also got one of the most insane and ambitious ideas for a creature that I've ever had. Not ambitious because of the complexity of its behaviors, although those could get crazy, but because of the mere concept. Really, the idea could be quite simple depending on how I do it. The reason I'm excited is because it's like a new genre of creature. It's just how it will be executed that I don't know yet. It might not happen in this update. This is great. I mean, he's got a great idea for a new creature, and he says it might not be ready for this update, which personally, I think if he feels like he should wait to make a creature or a certain set of creatures, then he should. He says that he wants to make a creature feature update and come out with a bunch of creatures, which I think would be great. And if that comes out with V80, awesome. But I also wouldn't mind if he only came out with, you know, 2, 3, maybe 4 creatures, because then it leaves him space to make creatures in the future. I don't know about you guys, but I really believe in the longevity of this game. And I think if he takes the game in the right direction, this game truly could be maybe not as big as Minecraft, because Minecraft is giant, but it could definitely blow up bigger than it did when it first came out, as long as he's taking, you know, the right direction. I don't think there's any rush for him to make a bunch of creatures. I don't think there's any rush to make any updates. I think Zeeker should be thinking very long term. Of course, this next update needs to be big. Really, every update should be big, but this one most importantly because people are excited about it and he just has an opportunity to bring back a lot of the player base. Anyways, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is I think it's a good idea that he says it might not be in this next update, because that does mean, you know, he's not trying to do all of his ideas in this one update. He says, I managed to talk quite a bit without spoiling anything major. Anyways, I'm going to get back to my long list of playtest notes and hopefully be done with all these weird changes soon so I can get back to the creature feature. Another great post. Sounds like Zeekers is polishing his game. He's not rushing this update. And at the same time, he's still working on some pretty big features. If you guys are stoked, make sure you guys like the video. And if you didn't see the previous update videos, we covered all of Zeeker's Patreon posts, so make sure you guys go check those out. And then I also forgot to mention that he did make another post 7 days ago, but I can't cover this because it's under his paid Patreon. So if you guys want to read up on his most recent post, his Patreon will be the first link in the description. But if you don't want to read up on it, I'm going to cover this as soon as it goes public, which will be another week. So next Friday, I believe I can post a video on it. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, make sure you guys like the video and I'll see you in the next one.